Choices? What do you know about choices? 30 million orphaned children. I was one of them. The Omnic War robbed us of our choices. To survive, you did what you had to do. Steal or starve, kill or be killed. You helped your friends and hurt anyone who got in your way. If you hungered to rise above your circumstances, then when someone offered you a hand up, even the devil, you took it. It wasn't complicated. At least that was the lie I told myself. The truth is, I had choices, and I made them. But when you think you're a big man, it's hard to admit that you are not a brave one. Even harder when you understand that making a living is not enough. You must make a difference. I'm going to fight for a better world. For some, that means a bandage. For others, a bullet. Today, I give you the choice.
Hello, I'm Zihan. Welcome back to another episode of Not Just Games. Today, we're going to compare military medicine in games to that in real life. Imagine you're hit by a bullet in COD. You probably start looking for cover frantically, as that is the only way to replenish your health. In Overwatch, we have the support, a hero role who is in charge of healing, buffing, and/or providing utilities to their team. By increasing their teammates' survival, speed, and/or damage output, they enhance the overall performance of their team. The importance of healers in Overwatch cannot be overstated. It got so important, people make songs to celebrate this role. As you can see in this screenshot, look it up if you're interested. Unfortunately, in real life, we are not blessed with regenerating health. But fortunately, in real life, we are backed by people who are similar to the support role in Overwatch. Therefore, let's talk about these support heroes in real life. Seeing that this is an incredibly broad topic, in this episode, I'll be focusing on 5 common conceptions about military medicine in games and compare them to that in real life. To further simplify the issues, I'll be focusing only on military medicine practiced by the US Army. Hopefully I can cover military medicine in other countries in near future as well. Before that, I'd like to let you know that the script for this video is written by a friend of mine who works in the medical field. If you find this topic interesting or useful to you, I would like to sincerely ask you to like this video so that more people can enjoy this video. Now, let's get back to business. The first conception, military medicine, is all about the hit points. In games, military medicine usually focuses only on battlefield medicine, aka combat casualty care. In the previous installments of the COD series, only wounded soldiers require the help of military medicine. But now, a regenerative health system has been introduced. Does it mean that, other than managing the soldiers who are injured during combat, military medicine is not of much help to the well-being of the soldiers? That's hardly the truth. Aside from combat casualty care, military medicine is also an important branch of occupational medicine who attends to the risks and needs of soldiers, sailors, and other service members. It helps to prevent and treat infectious diseases and the after effects of operating military-specific machines and equipment. For example, battle tank personnel are known to be more prone to musculoskeletal disorders than other soldiers, and military medicine personnel seek to prevent and address this issue. It's definitely not as simple as caring for the wounded, as it also includes planning and practicing the surgical management of the casualties, besides establishing and operating a combat support hospital administratively and logistically. There were many notable events that proved the functionality of military medicine, and one of them even featured the renowned Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing. During the Crimean War, soldiers were dying of diseases such as typhus, typhoid, cholera, and dysentery instead of battle wounds. In one winter during the war, only 9,000 troops were fit enough to fight, while the remaining 23,000 soldiers were reported unfit due to sickness. Nightingale concluded that this was a result of exhaustion and poor nutrition set about feeding and tending the wounded. But Surgeon James Barry argued that poor sanitation and bad ventilation were responsible for the deaths from infectious diseases. In hindsight, perhaps both of them were right. In 1855, with Nightingale's cooperation, toilets and washing facilities were upgraded, ventilation was improved, and overcrowding was reduced. The mortality rate in military hospitals, which was 41% when Nightingale arrived, plummeted to 2% by the end of the war. This proves that combat casualty care is not the only important thing for military medicine personnel to worry about. Now, we turn to the second conception, that is, soldiers heal themselves. As you know it, many games including COD Black Ops Cold War come with regenerative health systems. Once you get shot, you just find a cover and wait for a few seconds to get recovered. The closest thing to that in real life is self-aid. As we are not superhumans who can restore our health status within seconds, all the soldiers are taught first aid before they officially join the army. First aid class is one of the 12 graduation requirements for basic combat training. During this 3-day course, trainees are taught basic knowledge of hemorrhage control, tourniquet use, wound care, self-aid, body aid, and casualty evaluation. As medical personnel will not always be readily available, non-medical soldiers have to rely heavily on their own and other soldiers' skills and knowledge of first aid methods in order to survive. Besides, we also have the US Army Combat Lifesaver course as an intermediate step between body aid style basic life support and the advanced life support skills taught only to the combat medic. One member of every squad is provided with advanced life support training and equipment in order to ensure the fastest response time to a wounded soldier on the battlefield. This initiative has been statistically proven to reduce the likelihood that a soldier will die while waiting for a battalion medic's arrival. Every soldier is trained to quickly and accurately evaluate the situation and casualty to determine if it's safe for him to perform first aid on the casualty and therefore prevent further injury and death. In a sense, all soldiers are capable of regenerating their own health and that of their comrades. So, surprisingly, in terms of self-regeneration, the in-game situation is not that far from reality. Next, we have the third conception, that is, bandages and first aid kits make up the whole of the first aid equipment. In PUBG, you're going to need to be at full health to maximize your chance of surviving. When you are injured in the game, you can get bandages, first aid kit, and med kit to heal their HPs. There are also items like painkillers and energy drinks that can increase your boost, which is basically health regeneration over time. So, does every infantryman actually carry first aid kit with them? Surprisingly, this is quite close to real-life situations. Individual first aid kit, or IFAK.
Fuck you.
Say it again.
Huh?
Say it again.
Fuck you.
No swearing intended. Is issued to every deploying soldier via the Rapid Fielding Initiative. This is to increase an individual combatant's capabilities to provide self-aid or body aid. So, what's inside IFAK? There's a utility pouch, tourniquet, elastic bandage kit, bandage, surgical adhesive tape, nasopharyngeal, airway kit, surgical gloves, and combat gauze dressing. It mainly provides interventions for two leading causes of death on the battlefield, namely severe hemorrhage and inadequate airway. As a soldier's ruck is heavy itself, to reduce a soldier's burden, the IFAK is designed to be lighter, conforming to the MOL standard. MOL is an acronym which stands for Modular Lightweight Load Carrying Equipment. Later, an improved version of IFAK, the IFAK 2, was introduced in early 2014. The IFAK 2 contains the same contents as the IFAK, with the addition of a second tourniquet, a tactical combat casualty card to note what kind of first aid was applied to a wounded soldier, a mini Sharpie marker, an eye shield, a rubber seal with a valve for sucking chest wounds, and a strap cutter. With the help of this equipment, the soldiers are able to provide immediate help to themselves or their wounded colleagues. So far, more than 900,000 IFAKs have been fielded to US troops, proving that the IFAK is deemed extremely important by the US military. It may be just as useful as the medical kit in PUBG, saving unnumbered lives. Next, we come to the fourth conception, that is, some characters in games are born healers. In Overwatch, Ana, Moira, Baptiste, Mercy, and some other characters are said to be the best healers in the game. Are combat medics in real life gifted with a pair of healing hands too? That's not very true. In order to be an army medic, you will first have to be an enlisted service member. Both men and women are free to apply for this specialist job, given that one has to be at least 17 years old and not older than 34 years old. In order to be enlisted, one is also required to hold at least a high school diploma, taking science and math classes, in particular algebra, biology, and chemistry, will be useful in preparing for a career in combat medic. Then, the applicants have to go through Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, a test the military uses to assess the fitness of a potential recruit for military service, alongside the recruit's suitability for certain jobs. Army recruits must score at least a 31 on the test, and must also score the following on test portions: 101 for skilled technical, and 107 for general technical, to be considered for a combat medic role. Of course, the recruits must also be a US citizen and are mentally and physically fit to serve the US Army. After the recruits are accepted by the program, they will go through 10 weeks of basic combat training and advanced individual training, which takes another 16 weeks to complete. Although the course is physically draining, it prepares the recruits before they can finally work in real warfare settings. In short, not all combat medics are gifted men. Some of them might be stronger or better in this field compared to their peers, but all of them have undoubtedly worked hard to arrive at where they are today. Lastly, we have the final conception for today, that is, healing is a matter of seconds. These rules seem to apply to all games, since obviously game developers need to keep the players engaged. However, there are rare exceptions, such as Arma 3, a very hardcore game in which you literally have to wait for minutes to get healed. Similar to in-game situation, in real life, every second is crucial when it comes to attending a casualty. For example, the Golden Hour medical evacuation policy that saved the lives of US troops in Afghanistan and Iraq contributed to the best survival rate for any war in US military history. Golden Hour is the 60 minutes following a major traumatic injury, which there is the highest likelihood that prompt medical and surgical treatment will prevent death. An analysis of medical data was conducted, including all 56,763 US casualties in Afghanistan and Iraq, wounded between October 2001 and December 2017. In the early years, the fatality rate for casualties in Afghanistan was 20%, but it had fallen to 8.6% by the beginning of 2018. Over the same period, the fatality rate of casualties in Iraq had also decreased from 20.4% to 10.1%. One of the main supports which helped execute the Golden Hour medevac is the helicopter and its crews. The medevac helicopter crews were trained to provide advanced life support rather than keeping the wounded troops in country until they are stable enough to fly. The in-flight mortality rate on these transports was an astonishingly low 0.25%. In addition to that, we should give a special tribute to this man who made a major contribution to the evolution of military medicine. He is none other than Major Anthony Letterman, who was also known as the father of modern military medicine. At the start of the Civil War, Letterman was assigned to the Army of Potomac, and later was appointed with the rank of Major as the medical director of Army of Potomac. Technological advances in Civil War weaponry had far outpaced combat care tactics. The Army failed to bring timely medical care to the wounded in any occasion, and there were little military surgeons with adequate training. Before Letterman's initiative, the wounded often found themselves in hodgepodge of locations, few that could generously be called a medical facility. The nearest established civilian hospitals were often overwhelmed by massive numbers of casualties. Within 2 years, Letterman developed many ideas and plans that continue to serve as the foundation for battlefield medicine today. One of his undertakings was improving casualty evacuation. He introduced an ambulance corps, each staffed with a driver and 2 men who were trained for specific tasks and had no combat duties. Later, Letterman established a new system of triage and graduated echelons of care to decide which patients could be saved and which had fatal injuries. Ambulances at collection points transported the wounded to field hospitals and those with more severe injuries to hospitals. Not only could he provide consistent and better medical care to the casualties, it also kept soldiers with mild injuries closer to the battlefield, where they could return to the battle once they recovered. His system proved his efficiency at the Battle of Fredericksburg, in which the Army of Potomac suffered 12,000 casualties. Surgeon George Stevens of the 6th Corps wrote of the experience. The medical department has become so thoroughly systematized that wounded and sick men were cared for better than they had ever been in any army before. This was perfected by the efficient and earnest medical director of the army, Dr. Letterman. to whom belongs the honor of bringing about this most desirable change. And thanks to Latimer's effort, military medicine underwent a revolution. Many have been benefited ever since. From the Golden Hour medevac policy to the Latimer's initiative, we can see how military medicine personnel always seek to make every second count when it comes to caring for the wounded, just like the healers and self-healing soldiers in games. All in all, although most of the medical situations in video games are fictional, and the developers have certainly made some adaptations to make the games more interesting and playable, this game is common conceptions nevertheless hold some truth. Till this day, military medicine personnel continue to strive for maximum efficiency in their field of expertise. This is evidenced not least by the ongoing effort to develop augmented reality telemedicine for the battlefield, so that soldiers continue to receive medical care of the highest quality despite not having combat medic around. That's all for today. Did I miss out any interesting facts about military medicine? Are there any other non-combatant roles you wish to see me covering in the future? Let us know in the comments below. With that, stay safe and see you in the next episode.
"20 years of civil war.
There's nothing simple about it.
This is bigger now. Chemical weapons have fallen into terrorist hands. They could be anywhere.
We need to move fast.
What do you suggest?
A business trip. Farah! Let's talk! I need your help.
Because of this poison, my people have known something worse than war.
Help us track it.
If you stay, we can help you. But if you stay, you fight.
Yelling Atu.
The invaders of my country have no regard for human life. We live like this every day.
Any further complications and we're at war.
We're breaking through now. We need a new extraction point fast.
Save yourself, daughter. Join us.
I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here, no?
How about you, Captain? Are you gonna let them die?
Chemical weapons are now in the wild. Fix it.
Where do we draw the line, sir?
You draw the line.
No, sir! Stop!
Wherever you need it. What the hell is this?
It's the off switch. We're all just pawns in this.
Will you speak for yourself?
This is crazy.
Yeah, but we're a little crazy, aren't we? The rules of engagement have changed. If you can't identify the target, you are the target.